Hi, I'm Graham Hughes, and you're watching Moment of Truth on Labour Social. Today I want to talk about PR and why I believe it's absolutely essential to the future of our country. Firstly, I believe that it would save our democracy, which has been under attack for almost a decade now. The Tory Brexit bot farms screaming at us to shut up on social media, the laws against protesting, even thinking of protesting, the laws against striking, the refusal to discipline criminals in their own ranks, the cronies and nut jobs they've stuffed into the House of Lords, and now these new voter ID laws, which they themselves admit are a form of gerrymandering. The Tories are running scared. Not from Labour per se, but from us, the electorate. Not all most Tory politicians are idiots, but not all Tory politicians are idiots. And they know that the only way to stay in power with a minority of votes is to keep the hopelessly unfair first-past-the-post system in place. If we don't get rid of it, we can kiss our goodbye to our sacred democracy, which has already been defamed and deformed by years of Tory plotting, skullduggery, and outright abuse. Secondly, PR would end the cycle of Labour infighting. In the 1980s and again in the 2010s, Labour was hijacked by the left wing of the party. Michael Foot's notorious 1983 manifesto was dubbed the longest suicide note in history. And then, after the shock of losing the 2015 election outright to the Tories, Labour decided it would be a good idea to allow literally anyone to vote for who their next leader should be, for the princely sum of £3, to the disgust and enragement of many of us who have been members of the party for years, if not decades. These entryists who, I'm just going to say this, were not Labour voters, not Labour supporters, and many of whom wanted nothing more than the Tories to stay in power forever, saddled us with the most unpopular leader of a major democratic political party in history. That's not an opinion, that's just counting. The infighting in Labour ensured that the opportunities to rescue the country from the monumental act of self-harm that is Brexit were missed, and chances to take control of the narrative were squandered. It created a toxic environment, inflicted bitter wounds, and tore the party in two. Under PR, that's a lot less likely to happen, as there would no doubt be an entirely separate party that the wingnuts can join and have fun with their gatekeeping, purity tests, conspiracy theories, circle jerks, whatever, while the mainstream Labour Party gets on with the far more important work of winning elections and effecting positive change. Thirdly, political stability. We have lived through a decade of political instability as the Tory party has pulled itself apart and pulled the country apart with its manufactured psychodrama over, the fact that Britain, geographically at least, is in Europe. We've had 5 prime ministers in 7 years. 5. We've had 3 general elections in the last 10 years. We've had a prime minister who said he wouldn't resign if he lost the referendum, and then he did. A prime minister who threw away her majority for no good reason. A prime minister who, during a time of national crisis, was busy holding cocaine-fueled bacchanalian orgies in number 10, allegedly. Then we had the one who was beaten by a wet lettuce, and now we have the one who was beaten by the woman who was beaten by the wet lettuce. Strong and stable? Don't make me laugh. The secret to political stability is some kind of consensus. With the British two-party system under first past the post, we can never have that consensus. We have a Punch and Judy show going back and forth, Labour building a better Britain, and then the Tories zealously destroying everything that was once good for the sake of their most prized religious relic, the bottom line. PR forces parties to cooperate and to find middle ground, which means practicality over ideology, and things gradually getting better instead of what we've got now, lurching violently one way and then the other, which is nothing short of madness. That's not how you should drive down a motorway, and it's certainly no way to run a country. Not a happy and successful one anyway. Fourthly, the end of safe seats. First past the post discourages political engagement, solidifies privilege, and stifles innovation. Under PR, people could vote for the party and the candidate they want to vote for. Tactical voting would be a thing of the past. It wouldn't just encourage voter engagement, it would also help tackle voter apathy and give renewed trust in the system, which has been sadly lacking over the last few years. It will massively help level the playing field, ensuring that representation in Parliament better reflects the diverse opinions and preferences of the electorate. Safe seats, whether left, right, or in the middle, are an anathema to democracy. PR would herald their much-needed demise. Talking of much-needed demises, finally, and perhaps most importantly, PR would destroy the Tory party. Yes! PR would shut the Tories out of power for a generation at least. Two things that are really significant here. Firstly, the thing that Femi often mentions: in the last election, 52% of the voters voted for parties that promised a second referendum. So even in the 2019 election, which was a landslide win for the Conservatives, more than half of the voters didn't want the Tories' main flagship policy of Brexit, but we got it anyway. Secondly, we're seeing that millennials and Generation Z are much more likely to become left-wing as they get older, in a break with years of traditional political trends. Even if they weren't making such an omni-shambles of everything, the Tories' vote share will be naturally decreasing day by day. You put those two things together, and then you take away first past the post, it means the Tories cannot hold power democratically ever again unless they massively change their policies, bringing them and the Overton window back to what used to be regarded as a centre ground before this post-truth lunacy began. We're not there yet. We have to do two things. Firstly, convince the people at the top of the Labour Party to adopt PR. And secondly, we have to vote tactically in the upcoming general election. Taken in conjunction, a landslide victory for Labour and the subsequent adoption of PR will ensure the Tories aren't just defeated, they are destroyed entirely. They've said so much themselves. And in my humble opinion, the complete and total annihilation of the Tory party would be a just end to what will, by then, be 190 years of conservative brutality, carnage, suffering, cruel indifference, and abject failure.